I'm on Facebook Live and Periscope at the same time, so if I'm looking back and forth, it's because I have two cameras going. I kind of miss Periscope because I miss being interactive. So I thought I would try to do both. I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'm going to give it a shot. Today I thought we would, well, first let me introduce myself. I'm Christina. I am Dr.OilyMom. I am the mother of two beautiful children, a wife and a physician. I'm board certified in emergency medicine, and I've been practicing for about, I've been practicing medicine for about 20 years. So, kind of dates myself a little bit, but that's okay. That's all right. So let's talk a little bit about vitamin D. Why is it important? Why do we need vitamin D? So vitamin D is really important in calcium absorption and in regulation and promotion of healthy bone structure. It also helps to regulate the immune system and also the neuromuscular system as well. And that gets into some of the complex parts of it. And I'm going to break this talk down into two different talks. We're going to spread this out a little bit because it's really such a complicated system. It's not so simple as just, hey, go take some vitamin D and some calcium or go lay out in the sun. It's really so much more complicated than that. So when you don't get enough vitamin D, not only does your bone structure suffer, but you also are at risk to develop colon, breast, and prostate cancer. Has been linked to low vitamin D deficiency. Also, heart disease has been linked to vitamin D deficiency, and that has to do with how vitamin D and calcium interact. And we'll talk a little bit about that probably next Monday when I do the second Facebook Live. But know that heart disease is linked to vitamin D deficiency, as well as depression. I'm sure most people have heard about seasonal affective disorder, and it's linked to vitamin D deficiency. That's not really a big secret these days, but and weight gain. So vitamin D deficiency can add to weight gain. So these are the reasons why you need vitamin D. Now, how do you get it? The most natural way, and the way that the body was meant to get it, is through diet and sunshine. When you are exposed to sun, when your skin is exposed to sun, it is exposed to two different types of rays, UVA rays and UVB rays. It is the UVB rays which the skin absorbs and is able to turn into a precursor for vitamin D. That precursor then goes through the liver and is hydrolyzed in the liver to create a component called calcidiol, and then that goes through the kidney and is hydrolyzed to a bioactive form, which is calcitriol, which is what is actually used as the vitamin D in our body. So it's kind of a complicated process. Now, the conundrum, of course, being if you're vitamin D deficient, as I just told you, you're at risk to develop certain types of cancer. But if you have too much sun exposure, you're at risk to develop skin cancer. So what do you do? And that becomes kind of a conundrum. But I think, it's my personal opinion, that as with most things in life, a happy medium is really the place to be. The thing to realize about UVB rays is that, because that is what you need to get your vitamin D, it's my personal opinion that everyone should get some sunshine every day, that you should get outside to get your UVB rays, and the UVB rays are highest in the middle of the day when the sun is the highest in the sky. And that's true no matter where you are, whether you're south of the Mason-Dixon line or you're way up here, up north in the Midwest like I am. It doesn't matter. That is where you will get the most of your UVB rays. So then again, you're always told, well, if you're going to get sunshine without sunscreen on, do it at the beginning of the morning and the evening, and try and avoid high sun or high noon, right? The sun in the middle of the day. Well, the problem with that is the UVB rays aren't high enough for you to get enough vitamin D, unless of course you live really far south, close to the equator. But for most of us, you need to get your UVB rays in the middle of the day. Now, the other thing that's interesting about that is to get your UVB rays and to get your vitamin D from the sun, you need to get enough. But if you are darker skinned, you're less likely to burn. But it also takes more time in the sun for you to get an adequate amount of vitamin D in your body, as opposed to someone who has lighter skin. So, and it's all obviously on a continuum. The lighter your skin, the less time you need. They say if you are very, very light skinned, that you probably only need 5 minutes a day at the middle of the day with a maybe your arms and your legs exposed to the sun to get enough vitamin D, and that's without sunscreen. Now, as you talk about darker skin tones, you're moving more towards 20 and 25 minutes of necessary exposure in order to get enough vitamin D from the sun. So, and then the rest of the time, if you want to put sunscreen on, fine, but at least you get your sun that way. At least you get your vitamin D that way, and that's sort of how I try to work it for myself in the summer months. In the winter, I mean, I couldn't expose any skin right now. It's far too cold outside. My face is all that could possibly be exposed. And that's the problem, of course, with living up north, is you can't expose enough of your body realistically to get vitamin D from the sun. So then we have to start talking about supplementing. So how do you supplement? Diet is one, and I'm a big proponent of a healthy diet. And the places that you would find that are fatty fish, things like salmon, tuna, mackerel. Those are really great sources of vitamin D. Beef liver, organ meat. If you are egg yolks, pastured egg yolks have a good decent amount of vitamin D. Cod liver oil, if you can tolerate that. Ugh, not for me, but I'd rather eat the fish, thank you very much. But if you can tolerate it, I know that's a big thing that some people use is cod liver oil. You just take it like a tablespoonful, or I don't know. I don't even know how much it would take because I can't even palate the stuff. And then supplements would be the other way to get it, is through supplements. Now a lot of people think, well, okay, if I'm drinking vitamin D milk, right? So I must be getting enough vitamin D. Or I'm eating vitamin D fortified cereal or whatever, fortified foods. The problem is that most of the fortified foods that we have use vitamin D2, which is not very bioavailable. So it is very difficult for your body to actually use it for what you need it for. So vitamin D3 is really the one that you want. That is the one that is more bioavailable. It is not in milk products as far as the fortification. But as I said, those foods that I talked about, those are food sources where you can find that vitamin D. Now, let's talk about how much do you need. So how much vitamin D do you need? And that's a big debate, right? If you look at the literature, the numbers are all over the map. Some people say, oh, you only need 500 IUs a day. And some people say you need 2,000. Some people say 2,500. Some people say 3,500. Some people say 5,000. So it's kind of all over the map when you read the literature. But the thing that I found interesting when I was reviewing everything is I think because we all are differently built, our bodies are different sizes, it's really more weight-based. So in going through all of the literature, I kind of came down with a number that I think pretty much will suit most people. And if you're taking 35 IU of vitamin D3 supplement a day per pound of your body weight. So for me, right now, I'm 162 pounds, so that is somewhere in the vicinity of 5,600 IU a day, which is quite a bit. It's a lot higher than I thought I needed. But when then I realized, well, that's probably why my levels are low, even though I'm supplementing. So I started increasing the amount I'm supplementing. And your doctor can do this test, can do a blood test for the vitamin D. I also found an interesting source where you can actually purchase a home test kit through the Vitamin D Council, and I will put the link under my Facebook page on the Facebook Live. I'll put the link for that there. I don't know if I can do that for the Periscope, but I will refer you to my Facebook page, Dr.OilyMom at /Facebook, or gosh, now I don't even remember what my Facebook page is. I'll have to look that up. But anyway, I'm at Dr. OilyMom. It's pretty easy to search me out on Facebook. Anyway, so through the Vitamin D Council, you can actually order, and it's not very expensive. I don't know how accurate this kit is. I have purchased one. I have one on the way. I haven't used it yet, but I will test myself with that kit on the same day that I'm tested at my doctor's office, and I will, when I do that, I will let you guys know how accurate it really was. So that is how much I think most people need. And for most adults, that turns out to be somewhere around 5,000 IU a day. That's for adults. That's not for children. So again, weight-based. So if you're talking about how much do I need to give my kids, then you need 35 IU per day per pound of body weight. And that'll give you kind of a ballpark figure. So vitamin D toxicity. So let's talk about that. What happens if you become vitamin D toxic? If you take too much? Well, it has to do again with that calcium metabolism that I was referring to earlier, which we'll talk about again a little bit more on Monday. But suffice it to say at this point, if you are taking too much vitamin D and you are toxic with vitamin D, you can have what's called inappropriate calcification. So what in God's green earth does that mean? That means you deposit calcium in places where it shouldn't be. So you develop kidney stones. You develop hardening of the arteries, calcifications in the arteries. This can lead to stroke and heart disease, right? Heart attack. You can develop heel spurs or calcifications around old fracture sites. So these are all things, but how do you prevent that? It's so easy to prevent it. So just here, this is the message I want you to hear really clearly. So easy to prevent it. All you need to make sure you're doing is you're taking enough vitamin K2 along with your vitamin D. So these two vitamins should be taken together, and a lot of people don't know that. So that is super important. And my rule of thumb is that for every 5,000 units of D3 I am taking from a supplement standpoint, I'm taking at least, I'm taking 200 micrograms of K2. So essentially for me, that means I'm taking 200 micrograms of K2 a day. Now, how am I getting that? Well, there's a couple ways to get it. Again, in your diet. So grass-fed eggs are a good way to go. Butter, grass-fed butter, caviar, fermented foods, things like natto. Natto is a huge one. I've never had natto. I don't know much about it, but it has been touted as having the highest level of K2 of all the fermented foods. So if you like that, eat up. It's good for you. Organ meats is another place that's kind of interesting, that organ meats are a good place to find vitamin D, and interestingly enough, nature puts also vitamin K2 in there. So that's kind of interesting, right? So you find those together, chicken livers and that kind of thing. But also, and this made my day, I was so happy because I love cheese. I do. I absolutely love cheese. And when it comes to cheese, I love the rich cheeses like Brie and Gouda. And guess what? They are huge. They have such high levels of K2. They have like, I think I read an ounce of Brie has approximately 75 micrograms of K2 in it. So 2 ounces and you've almost got all you need for the day to go with your D3. So that means I can eat 2 ounces of Brie every day. If I can afford it, right? So anyway, that kind of made me happy. So anyway, so Brie is really good, and Gouda, some of the richer cheeses. And they don't have to be grass-fed cheese, although that is a better way to go, organic grass-fed, but they don't have to be. The bacteria that produces the K2, it's just a specific type of bacteria. So, and that takes me to the point of fermented foods. So when you are doing fermented foods, if you're doing your own at home, you need to make sure that you get the correct bacteria to ferment your foods so that it is actually producing K2, because not all fermented foods are created equal. If you don't have the bacteria that creates the K2, then you simply won't have enough K2 in your product. Doesn't mean it won't be healthy for you, but you won't have the K2 that you're looking for to go along with your D3, okay? And then the other thing that is super important is you need to have, there's a lot of cofactors for vitamin D and K2 to work really well. Well, let me say this. The K2, its importance is that it keeps the calcifications from happening in the places where they're not supposed to happen. So if your vitamin D levels are high or normal, it keeps the vitamin K is what keeps the calcifications from happening in your arteries, in your kidneys, in bone spurs and things like that, other types of calcification in the soft tissues where you don't want them. It actually helps the vitamin D to make sure the calcium goes into the bone where it needs to be and is utilized correctly in the neuromuscular system and is not deposited in tissues where you don't want it. So that's what's really interesting about that. But vitamin D metabolism doesn't stop there. That's not all there is to it. When you talk about it, you also have to talk about magnesium, and then with magnesium comes phosphorus and calcium. And with those things come parathyroid hormones and thyroid hormones. And so this is why I'm going to have a little bit more to say on Monday about the rest of it. We're going to talk about specifically about magnesium and calcium and phosphorus and how that part of the system works as well. But as you can see, it's such an your body is such an intricate system. It's just not so easy as saying, oh yeah, go take a vitamin D pill and some calcium and you'll be fine. It's not that simple. And it usually isn't. If you're getting that kind of information, usually there's more to it. And so it's really important to understand what you're getting yourself into. So a little bit of sun in the middle of the day, every day if you can. If you're in Florida, where I grew up, then you can do that every single day and get away with it. But even in Florida, and this is really interesting, even in Florida, the number of UVB rays available in the wintertime, even though it's still warm, is much lower, and that's because of the angle of the sun on the horizon. So you don't get quite as much UVB, even in Florida, to get your vitamin D from in the middle of the day. So keep that in mind and have your blood tested and kind of see where you're at. And then you can figure out from there kind of what you need to do to improve your vitamin D levels. And that's all I have for today. We'll talk more about this on Monday, and we'll talk about magnesium and its important role. Actually important to take magnesium before you supplement with calcium. So if you're doing vitamin D, you want to make sure you have your K2, and the next thing you want to add is make sure you have magnesium. Those three things plus a healthy diet will get you all the calcium you typically need for most people. But we're going to talk more about that on Monday. I hope you guys have a great, what is good for kids? Oh, I almost forgot to show you my supplements. Thank you, Brenda, for asking me that. What is good for kids? So I like to use, there's a few products that I use for my vitamin D. The first one that I use is the Master Formula. And this is back there. There's the box. I was using it to hold the phone up. So Master Formula. This is from Young Living, and it is essentially a multivitamin. It comes in a pack like this. You get these four little. See if you can see that. You get these 4 little pills in there, 4 little vitamin supplements. And inside of Master Formula, you will get. You will get 400 IU of vitamin D3. So the kind that you need, and you will also get 50 micrograms of the vitamin K2 as MK7, which is the best one for a supplement. So that is awesome. Let's see if I can balance that again without dropping my phone. Okay, there. So that is one of the things that I use, and that gets me 400 IUs. All right, so that's a step in the right direction. It gets me a lot of other things, a lot of my micronutrients, manganese, magnesium, and some other things. There's a ton of awesome stuff in the Master Formula that has nothing to do necessarily with vitamin D, and a lot of it that does have to do with vitamin D metabolism, which we can talk more about on Monday. But I would not ever go through a day without my Master Formula. Another thing I use is MindWise, and this is MindWise. So this is actually based from the goji berry. It's actually kind of like a juice, if you will. I take 2 tablespoons of this in the winter, and I take 1 in the summer. So I drop it down a little in the summer, really from a price standpoint, as far as how much I'm buying. But I use this in my Mojo juice. So for those of you who are on my Facebook page, I have a recipe for my Mojo juice, which I drink every morning, and it really gets me going, and it has this in it. And this has 146 IU. So in the winter, I'm taking 2 tablespoons, which gets me another 300 so now I have 700 IU of the D3. And it also has coenzyme Q10. It has a whole lot of beautiful essential oils in it as well. So this is a really great supplement to take. And then I also take Omega Gize. And you're going to say, well, why are you taking like 3 different things instead of just one thing for your vitamin D? And it really has, for me, it has a lot to do with what else is in these. So I kind of add up my vitamin D through using these, and then, but it's the other things that are in it that are the reason I take all 3 of these. So this has DHA and EPA in it, which are some omega-3 fatty acids, which I really want, in addition to the vitamin D3, and it has 950 IU of D3. So now I've gotten pretty far, right? Now I'm like 1,600 or so in with these 3 things. And then the next thing I like to use, and this is not a Young Living product, but I love it. It's a good company. It's called Thorne. Can you guys see this? I don't know if you can see this at all. I really don't think the light is very good on this, but it's called Thorne, and it's vitamin DK2. And you want to make sure you're getting the D/K2, because there's also a Thorne vitamin D, and then it just has the D. But you want the K2 coming with it. And each drop, a single drop of this stuff, so you can see a single drop of this stuff, I don't know how much, it's a fluid ounce, this bottle, but 1 drop of this has 1,000 IUs of D3 and 200 micrograms of K2. So 1 drop of this and you've got all the K2 you need for the whole day, for most people. So I add 4 drops, I believe I've been adding, is what I've been doing recently, because I'm trying to bump up my D3 levels, 4 to 5 drops a day, because my vitamin D levels have been low. To meet my maintenance, which I calculated by my body weight, right? So 35 IU per day per pound of body weight, okay? And then you want 200 of the vitamin K per 5,000 units of D3. So those are your numbers, and that's really helpful. Okay, and then the next thing I supplement after that is magnesium, but like I said, we're going to talk about that on Monday. And for kids, the same stuff is good. I wouldn't necessarily have them taking master formula just because it's kind of hard to swallow, but certainly the Omega Gize, you can open the capsules up. If they can take capsules, great. If not, you can use this. The MindWise is really good for kids. Also, there's nothing bad for kids in there, and you can use this Thorne for kids. You drop it in their juice. It has almost no taste at all. Like, I have no idea that it's even in there. I put it in my Mojo juice in the morning, and I have no idea it's there. So you can't taste it. It really doesn't have much flavor. So that's a great way to go for kids. And then as they get bigger, you can add more drops. As their vitamin D levels, when they're tested, are higher, you can back off. And remember, too, it's the total amount that you get per day, not only from your supplements, but also from the sun and from your diet. So all of that mixed together is important. So, okay, that's probably all you want to know about vitamin D and then some. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. It's sunny and cold here, but at least it's sunny, so that's something. And I'm kind of excited to be back on Periscope, so I'm going to try and do it this way. You guys give me some feedback and let me know if it was okay for you, me going back and forth between the cameras. If you guys got enough information from me and you felt like I was here with you. Because I'd like to be able to use both mediums and reach both sets of social media, both sets of peeps, all my peeps. So, all right, have a wonderful day.